Isabel, let's talk about the Chagos Islands. Now, this deal to give away these Pacific islands, this archipelago in the middle of the Pacific, very strategic, been sort of owned by Britain for many years. In the 1960s, we kicked off the Chagos Islanders in order to lease this one island called Diego Garcia. Sounds like a foreign footballer, doesn't it? But that's where there's this big US air base that the British use as well. Extremely strategic, extremely important. Now, the proposal is we give the Chagos Islands to Mauritius for reasons that people can't quite work out. That's what Britain wants to do. I should point out, once again, this was a mad process started by James Cleverly, the Tory Foreign Secretary, but Starmer and Lamy have embraced it with a passion, and they're desperate to give the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. But Joe Biden didn't mind the idea because they would continue to lease Diego Garcia for this airport for another 99 years. But you've got to remember, Mauritius is very close to China, so there were big objections to doing any kind of deal with Mauritius. Anyway, since Cleverly's efforts and since the beginning of Lamy's, the Foreign Secretary Lamy's efforts to give away these islands, two new governments have come in. One, of course, Donald Trump's in America, and the other, a new government in Mauritius. The new government in Mauritius doesn't want the Chagos Islands, and Donald Trump very definitely does not want us to give the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Mauritius doesn't want them anyway. Why is David Lammy and Keir Starmer, why are they desperate to do it? Why are they desperately trying to do it? They sent that old dinosaur Jonathan Powell, that old Blairite, over to the Chagos. He's there desperately trying to get it across the line before Trump gets in. Why? Why are they so keen to divest ourselves of this very strategic territory?
Well, I think we know the answer to that. This is all the kind of post-colonial guilt, isn't it? It's trying to shed the last vestiges, as they see it, of the British Empire, which is such a childish kind of lefty way of looking at the world, because actually holding on to these British overseas territories is nothing to do with colonialism and everything to do with having strategic interests and having a footprint in as many places as we can so that we can exert a positive influence or conversely help to contain a negative influence, that in particular being that of China. And this deal is rapidly falling apart, and I hope very much it does fall apart. You said in your introduction that Britain wants to give back these islands to the Mauritians, but the truth is the British people were never consulted about this. And Keir Starmer and David Lammy stitched up this dirty little deal right in secret and then told us all as a fait accompli that they'd done this. Well, luckily for us, it isn't a fait accompli because the Americans have got to play ball on this. Just to kind of explain how it is, under this Starmer deal, we are basically, although we are supposedly giving it to Mauritius, we will have a kind of, we're going to be able to rent it from them. And we can then sublet it. This is the Diego Garcia to the Americans. Now, the Americans may just refuse to sign any such subletting lease, and that means that the whole thing has basically gone to pot. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think even if Jonathan Powell and his frantic diplomacy at the last minute does get this ostensibly across the line, may well be that the Trump administration finds a way to unravel it, and in that case, good.
Yeah. Bear in mind, Mauritius has never governed the Chagos Islands. Mauritius was a French colony when these islands were a dependency of France. That was way back in 1814. France ceded Mauritius and its dependencies, as in the Chagos Islands, to the United Kingdom. In the 1960s, we kicked the Chagos Islanders off Diego Garcia bizarrely, their descendants, a lot of them still live in around Gatwick Airport in Crawley. So they presumably they arrived at Gatwick and thought, well, this looks nice, we'll stay here. But that's where they all are. So they were kind of kicked out of their homes, and ever since then it's just mainly been an airbase, a very strategic airbase. It's where the Americans keep an eye on the Middle East and Afghanistan and so on, and we use it as well. But the fact that Mauritius never really owned them, never governed the Chagos Islands, doesn't want them, and America doesn't want them to do it, it's just ridiculous. And as you say, it looks as if Starmer, Lammy and Jonathan Powell's pathetic efforts are all going to fail.